Loading snacks.
What's good, Loading Snacks Universe? Your boy Jokes is here. I got the homie Marcus in tow, and it is time for another episode of the Finisher Podcast.
Finisher.
Marcus, how you doing, good sir?
I'm doing pretty good. Can't complain. It's been an interesting week.
Interesting week. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm tired. I'm tired today. Long day.
I feel you. I feel you on that. 100%.
Hey, listen, it was a long day, but doesn't matter. Wrestling never stops, and this whole wrestling doesn't stop. We're going to be here as well too. But this is the Finisher Podcast, which is specifically for you guys listening at and watching at Patreon. Everybody else will get a little small snippet of this show, but this is just where we come talk about wrestling, just chat it up in here, some current events, some topics that we just want to throw out there and talk about. But we're gonna go ahead and just we're gonna jump on it. But Marcus, before I give you reins, this show's gonna be kind of in your ball because we've given Sin some time to shine on here. I want to give you a little bit of time to shine, but I want to briefly, for a few minutes, talk about continuing kind of the conversation that we were having about the AEW, like what could be better and all that. And I know we talked about the certain Tony Khan's thing, but I want to talk about the comment this dude made during the NFL draft. Because we talked about like this dude needing to be held back from being in front of a microphone at times and certain things. And I feel like what he did at the NFL draft was one of those moments where it was like, dude, shut up. Like you could have plugged AEW very well during the NFL draft. Obviously, your father and you own the Jacksonville Jaguars, but there could have been some dope things really that you could have done during that segment, which there was probably one or two things that was cool that you interjected with. But it was the fact of course, we got to talk about WWE. Tony Khan just cannot just stop talking about WWE and being the competitor. Now, normally, that's a good thing when you're talking about your competitor and trying to, create healthy adversary type of stuff between the two of them. But he went to compare. I'm gonna read that last part of his statement where he was like, while AEW is like the Pepsi of pro wrestling, WWE is like the Harvey Weinstein of pro wrestling.
But before we really dive into that, I just want to say that line could have been introduced so much better with a few minor changes. You could have literally said anything else but what you said at the end of that statement. You could have said they're like the Coke, they're like the Dr. Pepper, they're like the Surge. You could have said any other fountain drink and you would have been fine.
But no.
And why you had to choose Pepsi? Just because Pepsi Phil is on the show? Like, come on now, bro.
I just didn't get why.
You could have said we are RC Cola and they are Pepsi.
But at the same time, I'm kind of like, don't get me wrong, Coke, Pepsi, probably your number one and number two colas. And at times, I feel like you could probably interchange them, but I feel like the majority of the people are drinking Coke. Obviously, you're saying WWE is the better version of what AEW could be. Like, I thought at a point that comparison probably wasn't the best.
It really wasn't, because as much as like I enjoy watching AEW and I'm looking forward to what they have down years down the road, they're not Pepsi, they're not WCW, and heck, like and when TNA was in its prime, they weren't even TNA. And like, for you to call yourself Pepsi and then veer far extreme left for with that statement is just like, maybe he actually is injured and he's on some sort of pain medication and that man is delirious.
I don't know. But it's just, dude, Is there? I don't think there's wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with taking a shot at your competitor. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But there comes that time where it's just like, you know what? We're gonna stay in our lane. You guys go in your lane. You do your thing. We're gonna do our thing. We're gonna coexist. Cause let's be real. There's people that love WWE and hate AEW, and then there's people that love AEW and hate WWE.
WWE.
There's
There's always
there
gonna be those
is
things.
It's always going to be that way. But if you keep focusing on this, oh, WWE is our main threat, our main competitor. I'm sorry. Triple H, when that dude is having his post media shows, and
He's not there.
folks want to talk about AEW and stuff like that. The dude never, I think in all the different ones, he's probably referred to AEW as AEW maybe once. But
Well, it's been more than
otherwise,
once, but it's a very small.
But it's-
It's like a hand. Like you can count like the numbers of times we actually mention AEW on one hand.
very small. But you know what? He never, for the most part, was taking like direct shots. It was, hey,
It was a sneak diss.
we're doing things differently than the other company and all this type of stuff. Let's be real. As much as Triple H is probably in WWE, I'm gonna say them as a whole. You always keep an eye on someone that is like a competitor. I don't even want to use the word threat, because I'm sorry,
It's competition.
WWE.
It's competition. You always want to know what the competition's doing. What are they doing good? What are they doing bad? How can we make our own product better? That's in any line of business. Like, it doesn't matter where you are. You always have your head on a swivel, seeing what someone else is doing. And if they're getting this one market right, how are they getting that market right? How can we improve in our own way and get into said market?
But we'll move on from that. But I want you, what else you got on the plate that you want to bring up?
Okay, my next thing is originally, I was going to say I have a couple. I would say about 4 points on how WWE can improve their product. Some may be controversial to some. Some may fall on deaf ears, but that's okay. Point number one is allowing the talent to embrace more of their creative ideas. We're starting now to see a little bit of it.
That's what
I would say the beginnings of that will be Bray Wyatt. I won't say he's like the main person, like creatively, like given free reign, but we're now starting to see a little bit of it. But I would like to see more done instead of having generic wrestlers. I would say this will fix Sin's opinion of Bobby Lashley, because generic, muscular, black dude, bald, okay, he's a calf. That's a creative fighter for people who don't know.
Gotta play.
who create a wrestler. That's basically what Bobby Lashley is.
Nah,
So
I
it'll
get
give-
like I'm with, like, I do think though. I think we have seen a little bit more of that, definitely, in some of the people, especially with certain interviews. Like, obviously, Bray, rest in peace. One of the most outstanding gimmicks, I honestly say, since The Undertaker, that has come forward, and not to mention has reinvented himself multiple times to make it
all
a fresh
original,
take.
all original from him, all original.
And I thoroughly enjoyed that time. Now, if we talk about some other current people, I would say, if we go Rhea, like, seeing where she's come from, she said herself, like, when she first started in like NXT, she came as the blonde.
I mean, that's a Vince thing though. Vince always had a thing for blondes. This is something that is like a wide known fact.
Listen, and this is what I'm saying. We've seen those evolution pieces of it, and eventually her taking on the persona that she's at now. And it's like, I feel like Triple H is like, listen, I want you to go out there and I want you to be you. And I feel like Trips has had that conversation with pretty much I feel like with everybody. But I feel like, some people are still mold
Figuring
and
it
still figuring their way out. As much as they're on the main roster.
Mhm.
Once you get there, like say if you come from NXT up to the main roster, you almost in a sense have to
Blank
refigure
slate.
out things all over again. Some of your gimmick, obviously, you can bring with you. It's going to work, but you're gonna have to end up figuring some things out. Now, someone I feel like that has kind of kept the same thing from the beginning, but has evolved. Gunther / Walter, like he's been that same catalyst of his character the whole entire time. And obviously, when he came to the main roster, you know what? He did more of the outer change,
Yeah.
slimming down the figure, but by all means, not losing any of the strength or
Yeah,
explosiveness.
he just
that
slimmed down, toned up. Cutting season.
And I like what Imperium was. Sorry, Giovanni, you got kicked out and you got thrown off the show. So, but I like that whole entire thing. Let's see who else can we? Let's just throw some names out that we've seen, and you know what? We can do good and bad changes. Like, let's take a step back. Let's talk about Retribution for a quick second.
I knew it. I knew it was gonna be Retribution.
Retribution was when they first were starting things. I had a little bit of a connection to them. The mask and stuff was starting to throw me, but I was like, you know what? We'll work with this. Having Mustafa Ali at the front of the helm, I think was kind of cool. I liked us getting
It was that mouthpiece.
out.
It was like a Nexus feel.
And it started to work. But as things started moving along, that whole thing just hit a wall. And unfortunately, like, there was a lot of people in that group that from coming in from NXT up to the main roster were solid. And unfortunately, that's one of those unfortunate things that can happen when you hit the main roster. But like you said, Vince is at the helm of some of that, and it didn't necessarily make things run so well. Who right now, like current roster wise, who do you think could benefit the most from a little more creative freedom on their side?
From creative freedom, are we talking the two main rosters or in general?
Let's just go do WWE. So it can be Raw, SmackDown, NXT. I think
NXT has a little bit more free reign on their creative. Yeah. So I feel like they're pretty much fine because Sean's there. I would say from either Raw or SmackDown, creatively. That's a tough one because there's so many people that could benefit from a creative shift. Like, number one that comes to the top of my head would be gosh, his name is now escaping me now that now that I have to think about it. But I'll just go female wise. I would say Zelina Vega. Creative shift. Zelina Vega, Mia Yim. Like, definitely Mia Yim. Like, Mia Yim does not get the credit that she deserves. Like, she's a phenomenal performer. She just needs a different creative spin, and I think she will really get over with fans. Like, this is why I say they just pull the trigger on the actual Bullet Club. This, like, it will make her matter. Like, she's not eye candy, but she's eye candy. You know what I mean? In the group, like, she wrestles, but she's just all right. We need a female person in the group. All right, you're with the OC. You're with.
I think she fits. No, I think she fits the mold, but it's just unfortunately we are not getting right now with AJ doing his individual, lone wolf self right now, and the rest of the OC kind of has just gotten pushed to back. Even though they got drafted, it's like they got drafted, and I'm eager to see if anything major comes about it. Um, and I don't want us to get too like we can have a conversation about the draft like in on this as well too. Um, Creatively, I would think with the draft being in place, we could shift around some people and make some interesting storylines and things for it. But I felt as though they didn't do too much with the draft. Like I feel like obviously
Yeah,
bringing
this has
NXT,
kind of been like they brought up a lot of NXT talent, which I'm happy for.
I'm good for. I'm good with it.
But like if you go back to previous superstar shakeups or the WWE draft, like yeah, of course we already new stipulation, champions are excluded, but even though champions are excluded, the tag team women still somehow end up on Raw as part of, instead of them being drafted individually, if they're a part of Damage Control and all of Damage Control. I was just like, okay, so there's no point of like separating them from the championship exclusion list. And then it was just like, okay, instead of saying, okay, your women tag team champions are going in this show, who are a part of Damage Control, but we're just gonna draft Damage Control and just not even acknowledge the women tag team titles. I was just like, here we go again, not giving the women tag team championships an actual fair shake. But that's the topic for another show.
Yeah.
Another person would be Shayna Baszler. Like I feel like creatively, like if she can somehow get a good story, like an actual good story, and then someone with like pristine mic skills to like further develop her on the mic, I feel like she will be like a big star. Like
she had a there was a point where they were actually giving her a decent push, and I don't remember exactly what the feud was, but it was literally going in a good direction, and then all of a sudden
it was like, after the Ronda Rousey. It was literally right after. It happened. It's more than twice, but I'm gonna put up two fingers and say twice. It was one during COVID when they was doing the Fight Club motif, and she was just coming in and wrecking shop and leaving, putting people in the careful to clutch. And then the second time would be that whole Ronda Rousey feud. And then after she sent Ronda, her tagline, I sent Ronda Rousey packing. And like, I'm now like coming for like the top spot. Like I'm coming after this championship, blah, 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 blah. And then fizzle.
Yeah, it was like the brakes just got completely pumped. Like I was happy when they finally separated her from Ronda. Like there was a point, the two of them could have absolutely been a dominant force.
You see, this is what I don't understand, right? So they always do this with Shayna Baszler. Like she starts this rise to single stardom, and then put her in a tag team,
and just do it. Because right now, I feel like
that's like the formula. It's like always she starts her singles career, ends up in a tag team.
And I think they've been like, as of recently, they've been doing a couple things like letting Shayna go over to GCW and participate in Bloodsport and letting her get out there and do what she can do. I was super amped for that, to actually get to see her do something like that. And I think she was able to go over there, show forth what she can do. But I feel like we did not continue to build on that, bring her back. And I know they don't want to. I don't want to say necessarily talk about the competitor, but she could have.
Not a face and she's not a heel. She's an in-betweener, so let her do what she want to do. Like
she could have done that. I think we could have started something.
If she became the female Brock Lesnar, I wouldn't be upset with that. Let her suplex folk. Let her choke people out. Like, matter of fact, she could go crazy like that one HBK still when he was like controversial. I'm not controversial. Is to start super kicking people in the hallway. Give her that moment, like just she can do like something like that, and it would work.
Okay, I'm not mad at it. You know what I want to know though? I think that's a good place for us to stop. But I want to know out there what you guys think. I know we've talked a lot on here, but we want to know what you guys think about what we were talking about. What is Tony Khan doing? This dude needs someone to control him. You guys think that there needs to be somebody that can really Tony Khan? And then what do you think about some of these changes that we can see within WWE? How do we get things to a better. I don't even want to say a better spot. Well, I guess better is the way, but to keep elevating. That's the word that I want to use. Is to elevate and get more creative freedom and get people to do things. Let us know what you think. But for those of you watching, for those of you that are listening, thanks for tuning in to episode 6 of the Finisher Podcast. We're going to keep these coming as long as you guys like this, but we want more input from you. So let us know some topics that you want to hear us talk about. I know we're going to have some prediction shows and things that are going to be coming, so stay tuned for those. By the time you see or potentially watch this, Backlash will probably have already come and gone. This weekend's going to be a little bit busy, so we may have to do things a little bit differently for predictions on Backlash.
Yeah,
it's free comic book day, and the crew's got to go out to Comic Logic, and we're going to do some things out there for free comic book day. May the 4th, of course, Star Wars Day is this weekend too. So there's a lot going on, but listen, doesn't matter. Wrestling never stops. So you're going to continuously get this stuff from us. But I think that wraps things up for us today. Marcus?
Yep. Shout out to Sin. Like, we know you watching. Like, I just want to say I appreciate you, bro. Like, all jokes aside.
Why you gotta put me to the side like that, bro? Why you gotta do that, bro? But for the homie Marcus, this has been Jokes. This has been your latest episode of the Finisher Podcast. We're gonna go ahead and get out of here. Marcus, go ahead and tell the people what you want to tell them.
Just because your back is against the ropes doesn't mean you can't move forward.
And with that, we'll catch you on the next episode. Deuces.
That's all for now.
Loading snacks.